Projects, welcome back. Today's project, I'm going to be addressing this girl's bow-legged stance. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, some of the Humvees were designed to have a significant amount of weight run in the back of the truck, be it cargo, troop carrier, things like that. The M1123A2 is one of those that's considered a heavy variant. So this was common usage. Most of the M1123s were actually a two-seater with the cargo seating in the back, or a box seating, comms box, stuff like that. But they typically expected them to have a significant amount of weight stuck into the back. So in order to compensate, what they would typically do is they would actually add camber to the rear wheels, making the rear wheels kind of sit like that when you're looking at the truck if there's no weight in there. When you would add the weight, obviously it would stagger down, everything would even out. Well, the problem is that since I have no intention on carrying a whole lot of people or a whole lot of cargo in the back of the truck, most of my time is spent, my wheels are actually positively cambered out like that, and it will eventually cause early tire wear. Obviously it's not the greatest for handling, it's not the greatest for traction. So what I'm doing today is getting rid of that. So the way that they add the additional camber to the rear, what they typically try to do is push the upper control arm out a little bit. The way that they do that is they actually shove shims in between the frame rails and the upper control arm brackets. So if you look closely, you can kind of see the shims sticking up out of the top. What we're going to do is get rid of that. All right, so here we are looking up at the bottom of the truck from underneath. Obviously, that's the upper control arm bracket, and the frame rail. So if you look close, you can see the shims that I'm talking about. You can see those in between the frame rail and the control arm bracket. So what I'm going to do today is get this all loosened up so that I can take those shims out of the way. So you guys are going to give me a hand, and let's get this done and get this bow-legged girl back to standing normal. All right, let's do it. All right, so I've already got the nut and washer removed from both of the control arm pivot bolts. These are a 1 1/8 inch nut and a 1 1/8 inch bolt. Anyway, I'm about to pull these out. Should be able to pull the control arm forward. Once that's done, we should be able to start cranking away at these. And these are 3/4 inch. All right. All right, there's the first set of shims. Let's crank this one back down. So now we're going to torque the bolts down to 90 foot-pounds. All right, so once I had the half shaft out, I went ahead and got some tie downs and just kind of wrapped it up just to keep everything supported. This gets the control arm out of my way so I can get to these bolts. So anyway, yeah. So this will hold it from flopping all over the place and putting a stress on the airline. Next set of shims. Video, guys. Thanks for sticking through with me. I wanted to give you a couple of little hints here and there just in case you guys have to do this one yourself. Just a couple of little lessons learned that will make this a little bit easier for you. On the driver's side, the front upper control arm bracket, those are pretty easy to get to with a 3/4 inch deep impact socket. I happen to have two of them, so obviously I was impacting with another while I had a 1/2 inch drive torque wrench on the back. Just a pretty good sized torque wrench for leverage. It made it nice and easy. I was able to get to it from both sides. The passenger side, not so much. So a little bit of a trick to that one. Unfortunately, the gas tank is in the way. So you don't have anywhere near as much clearance. You've only got about that much gap. So obviously you're not going to be able to get a socket in there and get it over the bolts. Unfortunately also, because of the proximity with the frame and the gas tank, unfortunately a nice little tapered box end wrench like this is also going to make this difficult. You can get to the lower bolts, but that taper is going to be just too much for you to be able to get the wrench up and be able to gain access to those upper bolts. So you're going to have to get something like this. Now this is a ratchet wrench. I love these things. These are awesome. If you don't have them, trust me, go get a set of these, you'll fall in love with them. But the main thing you're after is that it's nice and straight, so you don't have to worry about that taper getting in the way. What I did have to do is do the lower bolts first, get the nut and washer off the back, pull the bolts out, and was able to go straight up and get the upper bolts pretty easily. Went through it pretty quick once I realized I wasn't going to be able to get that in there or a socket. As for the rear brackets, unfortunately, and you probably saw this in the video, I did have to take the half shaft out. It does make access a lot easier. Once the half shaft's out, you can get in there with the 3/4 inch deep impact socket, and it did come off nice and easy. So removal of the half shafts are pretty straightforward. There's 6 9/16 bolts holding the flange to the side of the differential and the brake rotor. There's 1 9/16 bolt holding the half shaft into the portal hub. So obviously take that cap off, loosen that bolt out, and then the other 6 off, and you should be able to slide the shaft out of the portal hub and kind of fish it out over the e-brake. Luckily I didn't have to remove the e-brake or move it around. I guess I probably could have. It would have made taking the half shaft off a little easier, but I just didn't bother doing that. I was able to lean the portal hub out enough since it was loose from the upper control arm was loose anyways. It was just easy enough to just lean it out and do what I had to do. So anyways, other than that, it was pretty straightforward. It only took me a couple of hours to do. So like I said, thanks for sticking with me on this one. And